Welcome back to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. We are on number 3 of Chess Miniatures. Blitzkrieg moments, fascinating sacrifices, incredible positions, stunning moves, etc. I've got a lot of these to show you. This is Lewis versus Dayton, 1942. Let's see what these two boys give us. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6. Looks like it's going to be a Ruy Lopez. Oh, nope, it's going to be a Gioco Piano. But rather than bump his bishop, he's going to put his knight out there like a good guy does. And now white's going to castle. So we've got a safety thing going on. Knight is going to take the E4. I mean, technically speaking, if you're going to leave the pawn unprotected, take it. There is a debate whether this is a wise choice this early in the game, but it will happen if you don't watch your center. This shows us the importance of watching the center pawns. Yeah. Okay, but this allows white to put the rook on the e-file, and the e-file is usually important in the miniature games where they do phenomenal sacrifices and stunning checkmates that you don't see coming. However, because black has taken out one of white's middle central pawns, he's going to push his d-pawn. Strong move. Strong move. Bumps the bishop back. Okay, bumps the bishop back. Now here comes the bishop. Notice how once the c4 bishop gets bumped back, then he pulls his bishop out. However, that does not take out that diagonal of the bishop. The g8, a2 diagonal, the white bishop still has that. There's no problem there. And now, yeah, d4. Argue for the center, by all means. Truly, knight will take that pawn also. So here we have a situation where white has lost his central pawns. White returns and takes out the e-pawn of the black. And now queen f6. Notice something odd here. What do you see? What does the board position look like to you? Quite frankly, black is much better developed. Could this be a measure taken in his favor in this game? Jeremy Silman would be hollering his lungs out saying, "Oh, do take advantage of this imbalance because it's only a temporary one, but it's a really important one when you recognize, wait, I have a good lead in development. What can I do with this?" That, if you were black, is the question you would be asking yourself. Without question. Look what white does. Interesting response. Now both of the black and both of the white central pawns are eliminated, which tells us this is an open board, which tells us bishops can potentially play a really good role in this game. Right? Here comes the lightning bolt. Can you see it? I'm not kidding. These miniatures are so spectacular just for the reason I'm about to show you. Absolutely staggering what black does now. Kablam! Check. Queen takes f2. King goes to h1. Black is on the warpath. Watch. Here's the move. What would you do if you were playing the black pieces? Queen takes g1. Check. Wow! Look at this Queen sacrifice. Oh, you gotta love this. Holy shish kebab. I mean, seriously, that is incredible. And now, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. I lied. God, I hate it when I do that. Queen was here and the pawn was here. Now, what the queen did was the queen came to G1. I knew I was looking at that funny. That looked funny. No, the queen goes to G1 check. There's the move. Boy, blow it right on the main move, yeah? So now the king has no choice but to take the queen. Actually, the rook could have taken... Well, no, it wouldn't have because it would have been a smothered mate. And now the knight to E2 check. Yeah, there we go. That's looking better. Knight to E2 check. And now the king to F1. King is trying really hard to not get checkmated here. And now knight to here, check. King is in trouble, so the H has to take the knight. And then, magnificently enough, the other knight steps in. The coordination, again, of the minor pieces, knights and bishops, is spectacularly shown in this game. Checkmate. Fantastically stupendous queen moves which set up the minor pieces. But I've got another one I really want to show you. Just as fun as this one, if I don't muff it up. Boy, my own handwriting's too lousy. Now this next game is going to be of Kurtz and Salomon in 1907. So this is a bit earlier than the 1942 game that I just showed you. Let's see how these guys play this miniature. Now this is going to be a queen pawn opening and yet a central push with the pawns, and black will immediately do an exchange. He says, aha, free pawn, what the heck? And it's designed this way, but now look what white does. Real interesting. He offers him a second pawn. Will he take it? In this instance, yes, he does. He says, oh goodness, if you're going to give me material, I'm going to take material. This will set up demonstrating white has a lead in development. Again, a temporal issue. He really has to fly fast in order to take advantage of this if he decides to. Bishop G4. Now bishop E3. And now knight C6. And now C3. And let's see, C3 and E5. So they're going to put a little bit of pressure in the center. And rather than loosen the pressure, white will pursue more space in the center by pushing the pawn. Knight will bump down to here. And now queen to A4 check. Interesting. Bishop will come back here to D7, showing that the queen wasted a move, but not really, because now he centralizes the queen. So you can see that white has done a pretty good job at this point of improving his development, his space, and his central influence, but black is not exposing his king. Yeah, he's behind in development. He lacks some center power. However, he's not sitting too bad yet, if at all. Give support to the center. He's going to bring another piece out. And now knight G6. And this is where white gives us the complete shocker. At this point, look at that board position. You got the center. You haven't castled yet. Technically, it's not a good idea to attack if your king is still in the center of the board. However, white really truly does own the center, and at this point, within the next 2 or 3 moves, there doesn't appear to be anything that's going to be able to come after his king. So, start the attack. That's what he was thinking. Obviously, because he does this electrifying move. He takes a guardian of the castled king that can't even possibly castle and goes check with his queen. Wow. No kidding. So he says, well, gosh, thanks for the queen, dude. I like this. And now the bishop takes G6 check. And black has to be scratching his head at this point saying, wait a minute, didn't I just get rid of a piece there? Yes, he did, so he'll come to E7. And now, again, the scissors bishops do the job. Checkmate. Observe that pattern. That is a pattern that happens from time to time when the queen is sacrificed. The bishops will come in from both angles and just decimate you. So that's something nice to look out for. I have another fantastic game for you. Hold on, and I'll be right back. All right, people, let's look alive. Here's another game that was played in 1905 by Leonhart and Esser that is really, really interesting to watch. This was just at the time of the childhood learning of such chess greats as Alexander Alekhine, Aaron Nimzovich, and Jose Raul Capablanca, and Bernstein, and all those guys. Steinitz was still in the area, in the arena. And so this is a wonderful era of chess that we're seeing this game from. And bishop b5, and and then knight f6. Well, then what did he do? Okay, knight c6. And now he castles. And now knight will take the pawn. You didn't protect the e-pawn. This is one of the themes that they particularly did a lot of. Notice he doesn't go after the knight. He goes ahead and pushes his d-pawn all the way forward as far as it'll go. And now black brings his knight back to d6. And the bishop will come to a4 because he wants to keep his bishop. And now he will advance his pawn, gaining more space, which is a real interesting move. And now knight e5 on a post. It doesn't bother black. He's going to prepare to castle. Notice they don't immediately release tension in the center. This is where just playing hundreds and hundreds of games gets you into the feel of when it's best time-wise to relieve tension in the center or when to leave it, right? Black doesn't worry about the tension in the center. White doesn't either at this point. He will bring out another piece. Black continues his development. Even though there's tension in the center, it's okay. And now white comes forward further, and now black finally puts, rather than a knight against a knight, now with the push of the f-pawn, with the pawn against the knight, now white probably needs to do something about it. So black is essentially going to relieve the tension by forcing white to make a choice. Yeah? And he does. I want you to observe this. This is spectacular how white plays this out. He ignores the threat. How many times have you heard me say that? I mean sincerely. Sincerely. he is going to lose his central knight. That's not just any knight. That's a central posted knight into black territory. That's a monster knight. That's a knight you want above all else. And he ignores the threat and goes check. He puts his piece on a better square. Nice little lesson here. No joke. King to h8. And now knight to g6. What is he thinking? He's thinking of cracking open the king side, sacrificing a piece to do that, which does work in this case because h takes the knight. Of course, it's forced. He has no choice. He has to do that because white improved his own position, right? So now there are weaknesses appearing on the king's side, and white is going to gallop right into the king's side. Yes, that's how to do this. Keep right on putting the pressure without question. You say, well, he just basically gave him a pawn that really didn't do much. It didn't shake up black's king side at all. So what was the point of that silly pawn push? I'll show you the point of that silly pawn push. Because now rook can take the knight, a defender of the castle king, and he goes down the exchange. And this is what is so difficult for us amateurs to grasp, is my rook is more valuable than the knight. I don't want to lose the rook for the knight. But look at the effect. He doesn't dare take the rook. And for personal reasons, I mean, it's amazing to me that he didn't take the rook with the bishop. Instead, he pushed the d pawn to protect this pawn and further strengthen the center. I'm not quite sure what I'm missing here, but I think black fell asleep. Sincerely, I do. So, and you go, wait a minute, black gave you an opportunity and you're so dang determined to throw that rook away. What are you thinking, you moron? But wait, king g8. There's a reason why he's not giving up this pawn. There's a reason why he's not moving this pawn out for whatever reason. Rook takes d5. And now queen comes to e8. And now rook simply clobbers him. That's the game. At this point, black resigned. Because white's going to... because that's check. That's a discovered check. So he gave him his queen. So he virtually, literally, truly loses his queen. That's what's going to happen. That's a great move by white. Not a checkmate just yet, but he got the resignation. So, but I have more fun games to show you with utterly jaw-dropping sacrifices and moves. All right, let's do another game, man. This is really a phenomenal game. Heartlaup versus Eisley, 1889. Now, this was early in Heartlaup's career. Karl Otto Heartlaup was a sensation on the chess scene. It's amazing he's not better known, but let's see what he does in this game. Bishop c4. He's going to go for the Gioco piano immediately. Black goes knight f6. He brings knight f3, and he immediately takes the central pawn. So Heartlaup will bring out his other pawn, and now the knight exchanges the knight, which was typical at this time of this particular opening. Heartlaup returns by taking it with the d pawn, not the B pawn, so his bishop realistically is going to focus more in the center than be a fianchetto bishop. This will be interesting to see how this works out. His opponent bumps f6 and he'll castle. Castling early is always a good thing, and black is not too far behind with that idea because he really wants to castle too. And now Heartlaup already, can you see the move? We are going to get one of those lightning bolts, man. Hang on, this is going to curl your hair. How he does this is so breathtaking. It's hard to believe that he even attempted this, let alone that he got away with it. And I'll give you a hint, it has nothing to do with the A pawn here. Bishop h6. And you go, oh, come on. What a ridiculous rookie move. It really is. It's a ridiculous rookie move. And you want to know something? It works fantastic. What is he doing? The theme that we have to get used to, that the reason we watch the miniatures is because they help us learn how to not only appreciate this theme, but to see the effects. The sacrifice of a minor piece here does what? Well, it puts white behind. Correct. What else does it do, however? If you're taking material consideration in, it changes the structure of the black king side. It's more important than a material piece to move that pawn out of the way. Let's watch. Let's watch. Now, astonishingly, Heartlaup throws another lightning bolt out there. Blam! He takes a central pawn with his knight, but it is a protected central pawn. And yes, that's the second piece Heartlaup has sacrificed. But look at the board. This is fascinating. This is exquisite. Whoops. I lied. Oh, I hate it when I do that. I got one shoe ahead of the step shine. Knight takes e5 and his bishop went to c5. Sorry. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Now, because of this, black is... Boy, I'm messing up these, aren't I? Good thing I'm catching myself. Now, Heartlaup goes queen h5 check. Black, I'll bet, is wishing he would have taken the knight. See, I've made the move that I would have taken instead of looking here. Yeah, he does have a bead toward the king by moving that, but he really needed to get rid of that knight because look at the bishop at c4 also. You can already see there's trouble for black. Why? Because white sacrificed two minor pieces to blow open the position of the king. And he did that really, really, really early. But it's effective in this instance because now the king has to move. The weak squares, notice, the weak squares and how Heartlaup is manipulating that to get to that king. That is really interesting to watch this. And now queen f7, check, of course. I mean, you had to have seen that. And now king d6, and of course queen d5. We're going to put the king back at e7 for the moment. And now, knight to g6. Now, true, it's a great fork of the king and the rook. But come on, g6 is covered. First, it almost looks contradictory, doesn't it? First, he blows the position open so that he can get to the king. And then he sacrifices a piece, and it closes the position back up. What is Heartlaup thinking? He's thinking of winning. Keep watching. This is remarkable how he does this. What's one of the odd things that you see in this board position that I have screamed, ranted, and railed about for several years? Yes, the open file. And it comes with check. Yeah, don't lose track of your pluses in your position. Because not only does he now have the open file with a rook, the queen is hovering close with a bishop. That's an amazing position, isn't it? So now the king comes to f8, and now the queen comes to f7, checkmate. Heartlaup made that look so blasted easy, didn't he? Yeah, because he understood the idea of open the position. If you have to sacrifice a couple of your pieces, if you can have an open field so that your long-range pieces, such as your queens and your bishops, can work in tandem and cooperate, then it's worth the sacrifice of the material to be able to checkmate the king. Fun stuff, as only Heartlaup can do. I have another couple of games of Heartlaup I'll show you here in a few minutes. In the meantime, I do have another game I'm dying to show you. Okay, now, the plain fact of the matter is, with this particular game, is you're just simply not going to believe what you see. This game is so stunning. This is played by Itsy versus Ranky. It was 1925. Let's watch these guys roll. E4, E5. Okay. Good opening. F4, he's going to offer him a king gambit. We've seen this before. And black accepts the gambit pawn. Okay. Cool. Knight F3, standard response. Now black pushes G5, which, I mean, it's opening up on the king's gambit. That's a typical response. He's going to bring out his bishop. Observe something remarkable here. The development of white is really good. Black really needs to get some pieces in here. So what does he do? He pushes a pawn. G4. Okay, dude. Obviously, black's not quite getting into it. Nice centralization of the knight. But what is this? Queen out early? This goes against all the principles we've ever been taught in chess. However, we also need to recognize the importance of reading the board and seeing the position. Queen h4 check. What do you do with that? The trick here is the advanced nature of black's pawns. That makes defense real tricky here. Black was aware of that. So king simply had to go to f1. And now, he fianchettos the bishop, and now the knight will take the pawn, and white has some attacking ideas. Well, so this is kind of a give and a take. That makes these kind of games really fun to watch, and you go, whoa, okay, that'll teach white, that'll teach black. Well, black comes up with the pawn, and he said, no, this isn't going to work. And white simply says, oh yeah, this is going to work. Not only does he continue supporting the knight, he prevents the bishop from coming out here because he'll lose both rooks. So now white is coming back with a charge. Yeah? And, oh, please don't do this. The bishop comes to d4. Once again, in the miniatures, the advanced state of those black pawns are dangerous when you put together a queen and a bishop. Because queens and bishops coordinate so very, very well. And now white really has to put two and two together. He has to say, hold it, something's going on here. I've got to get with it. Queen E1. He's monkeying around up here too much. And black proves it. G3. And now you're saying, oh crud. If you're white, you're saying, wait, man, I can't just take that. He'll checkmate me. He'll drop the queen down to get that rook. So I can't take it. And I really can't let that G-pawn take my H-pawn either. Can you see that? Really, truly, the next move of white is virtually forced. He has to bump the pawn up. Yeah? Okay. So, for the temporary moment, he averts the crisis, but black's onto him, and he says, yeah? Well, let's try this pawn advance. And now you're starting to see a very interesting and rare phenomenon. The person who is behind in development is ahead in attack because he pushed so many pawn moves. Now that's rare, but we're seeing that. Again, just demonstrating there are exceptions everywhere in chess to the general beginning rules. Don't do too many pawn pushes. Black completely did that. Don't bring your queen out early. Black completely did that. And yet he's on the attack, and he's got a really powerful attack. But here comes white again. Now, you've eliminated the rook. This type of fork always drives me crazy. I hate it when I get a rook down. But black in this instance says, we are going to have a party here. Bishop takes H3. Kablam! There is the shocker. You go, oh my gosh! How does he even have the courage to make that kind of a move? That is astonishing. Bishop sacrifice, what does it do? It changes the nature of the position. Yeah, that's what's so important about seeing this. So, now you say, yeah, see, now the rook can attack the queen, and now black has to retreat. Wait, are you ready for another astonishing, eye-popping, jaw-dropping move? Queen just simply takes the rook! And you go, wow, really? Yes, queen takes the rook. So he sacrificed his queen, he sacrificed his bishop, his queen, and now he delivers checkmate with the pawn. What a game. Yeah? Come on, you gotta love this stuff. But I have more. I'm not done, I promise. Man, I have a boatload more games to show you. Hang on, I'll go get another one. This next game by Michigan versus Quran occurred way back in 1876. But before you skip this, watch. Because this is sweet. This is fun. These guys play a wickedly great game that doesn't at all look like it was played 150 years ago. Believe me, the style of chess has transmorgified from this era into our era several times. But observe how these guys play. It's going to really impress you, I think. They're playing the Yoko piano, right? And so they're doing everything just like in the Yoko piano that we do today. It doesn't have the feel of such a long ago and far away kind of dorky moving chess that we moderns judge most of the chess games that are pre-1900 with, right? Let's just watch this. This is incredible how well they play, compared to what we think. Everything is really rocking. Here, bishop h4, and now g5. Look at this. Bishop g3, and now h5. Look at this. I mean, come on. These guys are playing their hearts out. For an 1876 game, there's nothing really ridiculous yet that we've seen at all, is there? That's quite a game, man. We're not done. Knight will take g5, of course. Look, he pushing the h5, gave him the pawn. And the pawns on the king's side are gaining more space, and it is going to cramp white, who has castled on the king's side. So it makes sense that he took that pawn. Yeah? There's nothing ridiculous about that. Right? He pushes the pawn, h4. Ooh, 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 ooh. Well, knight goes ahead and says, hey, I can do this. You're going to try to get to me. I'm going to try to get to you. Hello, Dolly. And now you go, see, you shouldn't have provoked white. However, he proceeds with his plan. Astonishingly enough, he proceeds with his pawn push. And, of course, sacrifices the queen. And you're going, you know what, that's I don't know if I'd be able to do that. So this is why we watch miniatures, to see why they did that, to give us an understanding of what patterns to look for in the positions and the way it's played, so that, yes, in point of fact, we can also do this. But it takes a lot of oomph. Bishop g4. Once again, observe the minor piece coordination. He has sacrificed his queen, but it has misplaced one of white's king's guardians, the knight. Notice he ignores the knight. He doesn't retake the knight. Notice that. It's not about material here. Observe what he's doing. He's bringing more pieces into the attack. He's not seeking revenge. Oh, you took my queen, you jerk. No. He is building a mating net around the white king. Very interesting to observe. And that's what makes this miniature so excellent. Queen d2, knight d4. Look. Look. He's not bothering with taking the knight. He's not worried about retaking the knight. The knight is so far out of play, he doesn't need to waste a move, which would be a waste of time, right? He is continuing to come at the white king. This is really spectacular to see. Truly. Truly. So, tickle the bishop. Look, the position is too strong. He's going to have to... the position is too strong. You've got to either try to back him off or somehow figure a way to trap a piece and take it. Because there's too much there against his king. So it forces a weakness and all that. Check. Yeah, G takes F2, and why not? I mean, you're right there. He has bumped the H. Notice, again, the common theme, which makes these so fun to watch, is he is ignoring the threat, and he's making a stronger threat of his own. In fact, it's a forced move now. Really, really remarkable how this works. Rook takes f2. Knight comes to e2, check. The coordination, again, of the minor pieces is really nice to see here. King h1, bishop takes f2. The coordination. Notice something. I'm serious. This is so crazy. He doesn't bother with taking either direction. That knight is out of play. You don't even have to take it. It has no effect. It's as if it's already gone. So why waste a move when you can keep bringing on the attack? That's the lesson of this miniature. I love this game for that reason. Yeah. This is fantastic. So he does try to get his knight activated. Now is it time to take that knight? No, 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 no. You have a much, 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 much stronger move to make. Rook, take, h3, check! What a lightning bolt, yeah? Put all your pieces into it. It is not about the material. He sacrifices the rook in order to change the structure. This is a fantastic illustration of this, man. Bishop f3, check. King h2 and bishop g1, checkmate. Observe, really, he didn't care about that knight. White was for all intents and purposes against the kingside attack because he was ignoring this knight. And he was bringing in his bishop, then his other bishop, then his other knight, and he sacrificed his rook, etc. Notice the rook, the bishop, the knight. That's 4 pieces, you guys, in a kingside attack. He had white outnumbered. He only had 1, 2 pieces, the rook and the queen to protect. 4-2 wins. Fantastic game, man. I love that game. I'm not done yet. Hang on, I've got another really mind-boggling game to show you. This next game is the dirt, man. This is so fantastic. Allow me to read just a little bit from Philip Sargent's book, Cherushek's Game of Chess. Rudolf Cherushek, 1873 to 1900. Only 11 years of playing chess, and yet he had already gotten world class. Unfortunately for us and the chess world, he died of tuberculosis at age 26 before he reached his full powers. But Cherushek, he was a Hungarian chess master. In a tournament sponsored in 1896 by the Nuremberg Chess Association, he beat the world champion Lasker in the last round. In 1897, he won the Berlin Chess Conference, beating Blackburn, Schlechter, and Chigorin, among other chess greats. He was beating all of the It would be like today if someone came along in their youth and started beating up on Kasparov, on all of our modern chess greats. Whoever you can think of. It's just unheard of. This guy, he placed second in Cologne in 1898 behind Byrne, but ahead of Steinitz, Schlechter, and Janowski. Chigorin was that good. Can you imagine some 25-year-old beating Magnus Carlsen right now? Or or any of the other great chess players that we have in our day. That's what Cherushek did. This game by Cherushek, this was in 1893, so this is a really young Cherushek. 1875. 1873, so he's only 20 when he played this game. Let's take a look. He's versing Wohlhair. Let's see what these guys do. E4, E5. D4. And now, rather than the French defense, it could have been the French exchange, I suppose. But he takes the pawn, and now Cherushek pushes the C3, and his opponent takes the C3. And Cherushek puts the bishop up to C4 at this point, and then his opponent will develop knight F6, and then Cherushek will develop. So notice they're maintaining the tension here. It's not immediately necessary to get rid of tension in a chess game. Understand that. The greats really do understand this. Now knight F3, and now bishop C5. See? It's very interesting how they pursue this. And now the knight will take the C3 pawn. So, we have a speedy development, typical of these great games. And we have central arguments, which is typical of the great games. And we have early castling, which is typical of the great games. So, we're seeing everything here we want to see. And now Cherushek begins to build on the offensive. What is he doing? Moving a piece twice. He'll show us. H6, and now knight takes F7. Yeah, that's the weakness, the F7 or else the F2 on the white side. That's usually the weakness, and they do go after that with a vengeance, yes? But the rook takes the knight. So this is a knight sacrifice. Hopefully Cherushek knows what he's doing. He presses the e-pawn, gaining more central space. And now black's turn to start potentially putting something together. Knight G4. Notice Cherushek just keeps right on marching. Yeah, hit the rook. Notice black ignores the threat. Is that not staggering? That is impressive. I mean, wow. That takes courage. And Cherushek does take the rook. Check. But of course, king goes to F8. Bishop to F4. Whoops, sorry. King F8, bishop to... Come on. Bishop to F4. There we go. That's the one I want. And now, black says, you may be good, kiddo, but let me show you something. Knight takes F2. Wow. Again, the weak squares on both sides. The F7 was attacked first by white. Now the F2 is attacked by black, and it looks like it's a pretty strong attack. No kidding. It's not like both of them don't have things going here. This is an excellent back and forth. So Cherushek goes queen e2. Notice he puts it on the e file. And yeah, I know open files are usually used by rooks. Yes, that's true. But a queen on an open file can be a very tough thing too in the future if you need it, right? Knight g4 discovered. Check. The bishop is checking the white king. Ooh, very interesting. Now what do? Well, you got to get out of check. So he goes to the only square he can. Now has black got something going here that's really strong? He does, but observe his attitude of, let's get more pieces into this. He's in a real strong position, man. But he continues to develop. This is critical. This is really cool. Now, Cherushek does the same thing. His kingside might be in a little bit of trouble, but he continues bringing in every piece that he can. This is a great lesson for us. Really. It's what makes chess miniatures so cotton-picking much fun to watch. Black continues developing. I'm going to emphasize that. This is excellent chess. Queen e8. Blam! The queen sacrifice. Look, you've got the e-file. You even have a fantastic setup with a pawn on the 7th rank. For Pete's sake, of course, sacrifice your queen. Now, I say of course, but would you have done that? I don't know if I'd have done that or not. See, this is why I can learn from chess miniatures, because that takes some courage. I mean, let's be real, that takes some courage. The rook will take the queen. And the pawn will take the rook, check, and the bishop will take the queen, of course, and now the bishop will take d6, double check and mate. That is so beautiful. Just as you thought black had it going, and he did, Cherushek turned it around. Look at the very interesting coordination of the rooks and the bishops this time. But notice what set it up was the queen sacrifice. That's what makes these chess miniatures so spectacular to watch. But I'm not done. I have another one for you. For real. Okay, we are having a chess party and a good time with all of these chess miniatures, and I truly have many more. However, let's close this video out with a really sweet game by Barr versus Zukitis in 1960. So this is coming way up into our day. This isn't the old stuff. This is our era type chess. Let's see what these guys do. They are romping. That's what they're doing. E takes d5 and queen takes d5. Again, the theme, the queen out early. She's going to be chased all over the flipping place. You shouldn't do that. Notice the interesting pawn move. Very interesting. That could prove to be significant later. Knight continually developing. b6, he wants to fianchetto his bishop. Why not? Because it hits right through that diagonal. It's a great diagonal. Bishop to c4. Now we finally see, come on, white putting the question to the queen. Okay? But not before he brought out more pieces first and established a central pawn. Kind of interesting to see how he's done this. Queen simply bumps back to d8. No shenanigans. No getting trapped. Let's just start fresh over. The problem is now white's lead in development. Can he cash in? That's the question white has to face. It's only a temporary imbalance, so you have to hustle. Shores up his center. He prevents the knight from coming in. However, the knight goes to the center instead of the edge. Yeah? So he's going to bring another knight to challenge the knight if he needs to. And he bumps the f4 pawn. And now he bumps the c5 pawn, again arguing for this side of the center instead of that side of the center. But definitely arguing for the center, which is always really important in every chess game. It's hard to exaggerate the significance of fighting for the center, but you must. C takes d4. And now for the fireworks. Can you see the move? Knight takes that f7 pawn, man. That's the weakness. And the king, in this instance, will take that knight. He says, yeah, I'm not spooked with your sacrifice. Yes, you got rid of a pawn, but I'm still okay. And then white does this. Check. Yowza. The sacrifice of the knight changed the strength of black's center. It undermined the e-file and the e-pawn, which white now possesses. Very important to recognize the internal logic here. Now bishop comes to d3 check, and now the king is flushed out in the open, and now queen h3, mate. A simple knight sacrifice on the weakest square changed the character of the pawn strength, which allowed white to break in and take it. That's what's so fantastic about these chess miniatures, is the astonishing sacrifices that, given enough time and practice from our end of things, will make it so they're not so stunning, but they just automatically follow. And that's where we want to get to. So, all right, there's your Backyard Professor Chess video. I have a part 4 after this one that we can see many, many more miniatures. In fact, I believe I have enough chess games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have at least 35 more of these to show you. No kidding. So, thank you for watching part 3 of the Chess Miniatures Blitzkriegs, lightning bolts, and jaw-dropping moves. But there's more to come. Stay tuned for video 4. In the meantime, remember, be good, do well, have fun, make friends. Don't stay up late, but if you do, make sure you're having fun. Like I do. And I will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video. Yeah, baby.